conservative friends. Let's talk today about making government by the people again and stepping it up at the local level. You and I are familiar with the phrase of the people, by the people, and for the people. But is government really by the people these days? You gotta wonder when you watch the headlines. And so let's think a little bit about what really was the idea behind representative self-government. And here's how I interpret that, okay? It's real people ruling themselves, keeping the governing decisions as close to home as possible because it allows for meeting the needs of a variety of communities. Communities are different across our nation. We have different needs based on our geographic location, jobs available, you name it. There's lots of factors that make government decisions different in different localities. And yet, there are, of course, always the similar needs of human beings. And so when we can keep government small and close to home, it usually functions best. That's what government by the people means to me. And perhaps it means the same or similar to you, but we really need to get back to that idea. Those in the elected governing positions, the reason that we wanted to keep it by the people was because those people that we elected with our votes often lived in the community with us. They had the same interests. They had the same families and friends that we all know. They perhaps had businesses and jobs in the community that we live in. And so there was a level of accountability when that concept was developed of governing by the people. If I have to live next door to you or run into you in the grocery store and you've voted for me into a position, I can expect that you're going to ask some questions of me about the decisions I make in that governing role, as it should be in America. That's one of the principles we were founded upon was self-governance. We didn't plan in this country when it was conceived. We were not planning on having a permanent ruling class. We were escaping that by escaping the monarchy in Europe and deciding that the people would govern instead of a king or a queen. And so there was a change in mindset. We didn't intend to have a permanent ruling class, and yet I think in today's age, many of us who are frustrated with what's happening in government have seen the elite develop, the governing class develop, those who have been in office for 40 or 50 years and have become more and more removed from the communities they govern or the nation that they govern because they don't live anywhere but perhaps in Washington, D.C. Okay? We tend, when we have that ruling class develop, they tend to get out of touch with the people that they're ruling. They don't have the same problems that we have in the local communities. They're not fighting the same battles. And so there's a distance that develops and the decision-making process changes. And they, I think, more and more represent either their own interests or the interests of the special groups that come forward and lobby and donate money, and that becomes the influence rather than the needs of the people at the local level. And then the complaint that you hear all the time is they're not present frequently enough and they're not having conversations with the people that they've been elected to represent. Those are some of the negatives about having that permanent ruling class develop as we've seen happening in the United States right now. So how do we step it up? With all that grousing aside, how do we step it up at the local level and make government by the people again? I will tell you, the first thing we have to do is get more people engaged. And that is happening, but it needs to happen even more. We as voters, as citizens of our local communities, need to be engaged. We need to be involved. We need to understand what's happening and participate in the process. We can't sit at home and watch TV or play on our tablets and whatnot and be removed from the process ourselves. We can't just complain if we're not being involved and engaged. We need to attend meetings. We need to get involved in political parties and watch what's happening. We need to hold accountable our elected officials. We need to become some of those elected officials. We need to attend legislative meetings and sessions and learn to understand the process. It is so important that we understand how our laws or how our city ordinances are made, what causes them to be in place in the first place. Why are they important? How do we manage them so we don't have so many rules it's impossible to follow? And as an attorney, I will tell you, we're already there. It's impossible to follow every law in this country every day. I heard a speaker one time say something like the average citizen of America probably commits 3 felonies a day and doesn't even know it because there's so much regulation. That needs to be managed a little better, frankly. We need to become a part of the public voice. The public square is important. The opportunities to express opinions, to speak needs, to have that political free speech, to engage in discourse, to agree to disagree once in a while. And we have lots of opinions and lots of needs to manage, and it is okay to disagree if we treat each other decently in the process of that disagreement. We have to recognize that sometimes someone we disagree with will say something that might educate us and adjust some of our own opinions, maybe share a little wisdom with us. And that is part of the beauty of governance by the people. With that multitude of voices and opinions and wisdom comes good decision making. You can knock things down to what's really important for the betterment of the entire community, whether it be a city, a state, or a nation. Here's my question for you today. Are you engaged in the political process, or are you just sitting outside and commenting and complaining?